news and community events on your corner. Toledo News This Morning starts right now. Good Saturday morning, I'm Jaden Jefferson, and welcome to the Toledo News This Morning end-of-year special, which means we break from current headlines to take a look back at 5 of my most memorable stories from this past year. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Number 5 takes us back to an awful display of hate, which was met by rightful pushback from Toledoans. This is the Love Wall at the corner of Adams and 13th in downtown Toledo. It's where on Saturday, Equality Toledo held its Love Fest event. It's an annual celebration of love and community. But for a certain part of the event, it wasn't all that.
There's one person that had their face shown, one, and everybody else was masked and completely covered, right? They're absolute cowards. So I don't think their actions are bold. I think they're cowardly.
For approximately 15 minutes, according to Toledo City Council member at-large Nick Comives, a neo-Nazi group lined 13th Street in an attempt to disrupt what was a day of fun, community, and love.
Saturday, we had our 6th annual Love Fest. It's put on every year by Equality Toledo. When I was working for them, I started it as a fundraiser for the organization, one that really utilizes our extremely special and beautiful Love Wall.
But undeterred by colorful Adams Street, a street donned by pride flags and even rainbow crosswalks, came a hate group, which to attendees was quite unexpected.
For the first time ever, we had protesters. I'd go a little bit further and say not just protesters, but terrorists. They were actual Nazis that showed up. They threatened to come and they wanted to disrupt our event. And they in fact did come, but they did not disrupt our event.
Comive says the group arrived in, of all things, a U-Haul, and even attempted to descend on the African American Festival earlier in the day, but couldn't follow through with its plans as the event actually moved indoors due to the weather.
What we did was we brought a DJ out on the stage, we blared the music as loud as possible, and as the Nazis approached, everybody here sort of backed away from the back of the fence. We didn't want to engage with them, right? Why do we even want to talk to these folks? They're horrendous people who say things like there will be blood, right? They are literally threatening violence all the time, and so we don't want to interact with them.
And what could have been an opportunity to be easily intimidated was instead used as an opportunity to prove that love always wins, especially in the face of hate and bigotry.
They are violent criminals in my mind. They are domestic terrorists who are out to incite violence, incite rage, incite fear, and we're just not going to have it, right? Toledo is an amazing place where we really care about people and we welcome all people, and that's what makes us so special. So that kind of hate is just not welcome here.
Reporting in downtown Toledo, I'm Jaden Jefferson. Number 4. From hate to an unexpected midsummer's tornado in Point Place, which thrust many in our community into a difficult, emotionally strained place. Well, this is just one of the many examples of the damage left behind by the Point Place tornado. This was a garage, and now you can see that it's completely collapsed. And here you can see a lot of various items and also a lot of memories that were left behind after this garage came down. Governor Mike DeWine was actually in Point Place on Tuesday to kind of talk with everyone and see what the situation was. And obviously, this doesn't even begin to show what the rest of the community is dealing with. There are plenty of people still without power, plenty of people still looking for food and water, a lot of things that people need. And I kind of want to walk you this way as well. You can see here, this backyard, one of the goals was actually to mow the lawn. It's not going to happen because this garage came down. You can also hear that loud noise. That's a generator. I talked a little bit about the fact that power is still out in many parts of the point. Well, this is one of them. So it really is kind of concerning to look at this and just see what was left behind. Now, I did get the opportunity to talk with one grandmother and her granddaughter about their situation right now. They tell me that they have not received nearly enough support from the government following this storm. Now, on the local level, there have been food giveaways and water giveaways, but the issue is communicating that information hasn't been effective due to the fact that those messages aren't going through. They can't check on social media, so it really has been an issue for them. When I did get the opportunity to talk with the governor, I asked him what's going to be able to happen following this storm. He couldn't make any promises. What's going to change after this? What can you promise Ohioans is going to change after this?
Well, I think first we have to, get an answer from the Weather Service. And if you compare where we were today versus 10 years ago or 20 years ago, I mean, the sophistication is so much better.
Well, they offered support, but I don't know that they have anything we need. What we need is to know if who's an honest contractor, and for the first night, I'd have loved to have been able to go to a hotel, but that didn't happen.
Now, of course, continue to follow this story and try to bring you additional information from state officials and the local officials as well. But again, this situation is going to be one that's going to be an issue for a lot of people in the days, weeks, and months to come. Reporting in Point Place, I'm Jaden Jefferson. Number 3. There is truly a sense of responsibility among everyday people here in Toledo when it comes to the next generation. A great example of that is the work happening at the Frederick Douglass Center. I got a tour earlier in the year. It was the site of Toledo Mayor Wade Kapsikavich's 2023 State of the City address, and now it is receiving some renovations. Here's a look inside the Frederick Douglass Center in Toledo. A newly painted gym and lobby, redone floor, and new elevator are just a small part of what's to come at the Neighborhood Community Center, which was built back in 1976. Reggie Williams is the executive director of the Frederick Douglass Community Association. He says the center offers recreational activities and informational sessions, as well as camps during the summer. All of these services, he says, benefited from a recent renovation, thanks to help from Dr. Cecilia Adams, a former Toledo City Council member. At the time, the city of Toledo was considering an energy cost savings partnership with Leopardo Energy, which would have included multiple city-owned buildings, including the Doug. When that fell through, Adams helped to get the Frederick Douglass Center some funding of its own.
And at that time, it was for $1 million. And so unanimously later on, the rest of council voted for an additional amendment to do $1.5 million. So a total $2.5 million to renovate the Douglass Center.
And while these renovations have brought new life to the center, Williams says they are far from done. Giving me a tour of some of their lesser viewed spaces, he provided a vision for the future. This first room on the first floor, he says, will soon be home to a library full of Black literature to inspire some of the many youth that engage in their programming. Next door to that room, a space that's used for performing arts, and at one point was used for classes to teach our city's young people framing and drywall. Continuing our tour of the first floor, Williams walked me through the space that will open as a daycare this year, which he hopes can be 24/7. His plans include new glass to welcome in the summer sun, as well as new flooring. After that, we took a trip to the second floor, home of that newly renovated gym, which now includes a workout room fitted with donated equipment. Other highlights of the building's upper floors include classrooms for GED classes, which will soon get new flooring, a space for the neighborhood's young people to enjoy a good time in a safe, welcoming space, meeting rooms and offices for members of the community, and even a playroom, also fitted with new flooring. Williams says these are all spaces that help to continue their mission, something he one day hopes to leave in the hands of the next generation of Toledoans.
The long-term benefits is that, it's a succession plan, being able to hand it off in good nature, good sound structure to the next administration. Our young people that are growing up, there will be adults in that changing of the guard, if you will. And so I'm just excited to just be able to, one, stand on the shoulders of those who previously were leaders here.
And as this work continues, Williams does say he would like to see more funding come down from the city, as during these renovations, other issues arose that will need addressing. In the meantime, he's looking forward to welcoming community members to the center's Juneteenth celebration this summer. Reporting in Toledo, I'm Jaden Jefferson. Number 2, alopecia impacts an estimated 6.7 million Americans. And one of those Americans is a local volleyball coach who turned her diagnosis into a lesson about confidence, and she has taken that message across the country.
It was a life-changing moment.
McKenna Wright wears many hats: teacher and volleyball coach at Springfield High School, TEDx motivational speaker, and mother of 2 daughters. Those are all things that are a part of what makes her who she is. But in August 2015, life brought her a new challenge, one that didn't involve high energy on the court.
As a female, we subconsciously always identify with our hair. And I felt as though every strand of hair that was falling out of my head, my identity was being ripped away from me. And within 3 weeks, all of my hair was gone.
What followed was a very difficult time in her life. After treatments to slow her hair loss proved ineffective, Wrights wondered how she would be able to continue with her dream of being a teacher and coach, but without those thick locks people often identified her with. Wrights recalls avoiding family photos and even being upset with her husband, who reminded her that it's just hair.
Looking back, I'm glad the Band-Aid was ripped off quickly, because it allowed me to find the silver linings that much quicker.
So what has she learned from this experience?
We have to be able to give ourselves a grace period. when we are battling anything.
And now, Wrights is taking people's assumptions of her as being sick or in the midst of a struggle and using it as an opportunity to educate and help people uncover their true strength. Most recently, making the trip to Los Angeles, where today she'll appear on The Jennifer Hudson Show to share her story with the rest of America.
It was an incredible experience. Over the past 3 years, my goal is to make my story worldwide. It is to, yes, bring awareness to alopecia, but it's more so to show people that we can get through anything.
Wright says that the journey to getting her story to a national audience was one that took time and a whole lot of work.
I've been slowly building up, getting my story out there from local to regional to national news. Everyone asked, was it scary? Were you nervous? And no, because this is where I'm meant to be and I was made for this.
And to check out McKenna's interview on The Jennifer Hudson Show, check your local listings. As for what's next, this May, McKenna will be hosting a leadership conference at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Toledo. Check her social media for updates. But for now, reporting here in Toledo, I'm Jaden Jefferson. And number 100. This year I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing a centenarian, Flory Huntley, who turned 100 years old this year. So rightfully so, the number 1 spot goes to her. Let me tell you a story. It's what I do, right? In 2010, the U.S. Census Bureau estimated that there were about 1,891 centenarians living in the state of Ohio. Now, nationally, the number is expected to swell to 600,000 by 2050. But of course, it's still rare to be a centenarian in today's age, and that number is continuing to grow. So I had the opportunity to speak with Flory Huntley. She goes right here to First Church of God, and let me tell you, everyone I spoke to had something positive to say about how she impacted them.
And it's my honor to just show her my love, how much I really love her. And she has been supporting me through my foundation, and I just think of her as a good friend.
So many areas of the church, music, choir director, teaching and teaching Bible school, and so many have learned so much from her.
And those many roles have translated into many lessons learned for all those who grew up with the opportunity to learn from Flory.
She taught us to read the word and to pray, to love on each other, and be a part of the family of God. And she's such great wisdom. And she has a great sense of humor.
And that sense of humor was on full display Sunday when the church held a celebration of her major milestone. What's your life story?
Oh, Lord have mercy. That's a long story.
She talked of her humble beginnings and how they brought her north to a city along the Maumee called Toledo.
I was raised in Birmingham, Alabama, okay? And when I got married, I came to Toledo, and I began to worship this church. I was 30 years old at that particular time.
Flory also talked about her childhood, a simple one compared to most of today.
A lot of times we made our own toys. I forgot what you call them and everything, because that's been so long ago. And then we used to do a lot of playing outside, but it's almost, you can't let your kids be outside by themselves.
And of course, turning 100 years old means she has seen things change before her eyes. She recalls growing up Black in the South and how that shaped her experiences, while also acknowledging just how much the world has changed, from clothing to gender identity to even, quote, the way people talk.
Things has come a long ways, but we still have a long ways to go.
And to the surprise of no one, Miss Huntley has some wise words to leave you with.
That kindness will come back to you when you're kind to others.
Well, I hope you enjoyed looking back at these stories just as much as I did. However, we still have a couple days left in 2023, so make the most of them. 2024, we'll see you soon. Have a great Saturday.